Hello, first grade friends. It's Miss Green again. Before we get to this week's lesson, lesson 27 in math, I wanted to remind you about last week. Last week we talked about the different shapes and we talked about their attributes. Attributes, remember, is just a fancy way of describing that shape, their characteristics. For example, we had a rhombus, rectangle, square, triangle, trapezoid. We talked about how we could describe each shape by their sides, how many sides they have, and how many corners they have. We talked about the difference in the shapes. Rectangle has two long sides and then two shorter sides. And then a square is different. They both have four sides and four corners, but a square is different because all the sides in the square are the same length. They're all the same sides. And then the difference in these three. These two have four sides and four corners, and then we come to a triangle, and the characteristics of a triangle are three sides and three corners. So this week, we're still going to take a look at 2D shapes or two-dimensional shapes. Now, the definition of a 2D shape is a flat figure or plane shape. We're looking at the length and the width of the shape, the 2D. All of these on the board are just flat shapes, plain shapes. That's what a 2D shape is. Now, if we take a look at some of our vocabulary words for this week, we have compose. Now, compose means to put two or more shapes together. We're going to compose something. If you were writing a song or music, you would compose by putting different notes together to make a song or to play on the piano. But this week in math, we are going to compose shapes, two or more shapes put together. Decompose, same thing as compose, but it has DE at the beginning, decompose. That's the opposite of compose. That means we're going to break a shape apart into smaller shapes. And then we come to a composite shape, and that's a figure that is made up of two or more shapes. A figure that is made up of two or more shapes. Sounds very similar to compose. So once we compose, we take two or more shapes and put them together. We come up with a composite shape. Some more things. I want to talk about a circle. A circle, some of the attributes of a circle. A circle has no sides and no corners. Some other words that you're going to be familiar with after this week are a half circle. Now, I have drawn a circle here, and we could cut it in half. You could cut it in half vertically, or you could cut it in half horizontally. A half circle is one part of two equal parts of a circle. So if you cut this circle in half, you have half a circle. Here we have half a circle. A quarter circle. Let me read what a quarter circle is for you. One of four equal parts of a circle. One of four equal parts of a circle. So a quarter circle, and for those of you that are good with money, or maybe you just remember that a dollar is made up of four quarters. Same thing with a quarter circle. We divide that circle up into four equal parts. You'll see that this part right here is actually a quarter circle. That is 1/4 of the circle. These are all divided up into quarters now. As you move forward into your math instruction book, you will find that on the first couple of pages that you have shapes, and they're taking shapes, single shapes, and they're composing different shapes, larger shapes and other kinds of shapes. And then you can decompose these too. So you'll practice these in your math instruction book, and then you'll move on to work in your practice and problem solving book as well as your iReady things. Now I'm going to try to let you take a look right here on the desk. I have some shapes. I'm going to do my best to kind of show you this. Here I have two triangles. Now, if I put those two triangles together, I can make a rhombus. These two triangles have now formed a rhombus. So if I cut this in half, you'll see that these two triangles I've composed a rhombus to make a rhombus. Now, if I take the rhombus that we've just made and I put it together with another triangle, I have now come up with a trapezoid. So I have my rhombus. Remember, we started with our two triangles. We made a rhombus. Now I'm adding my triangle, and it has become a trapezoid. I'm simply composing shapes out of other shapes, taking smaller shapes, putting them together. And here I have 6 triangles. I'm going to arrange these 6 triangles to compose a hexagon. Now, what is a hexagon? A hexagon has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides and 6 corners. Let me try to hold this up a little bit so you can see it. So here I took my 2 triangles, put them together to make a hexagon. To make a rhombus. Took a rhombus and put it with a triangle to compose a trapezoid. And then here I took 6 triangles and put them together to compose or to make a hexagon. Now, to decompose these things, I might say, take a look at this trapezoid, decompose that or break it apart into 2 shapes. And if I do that, I can simply move it and I can say, here's my rhombus and here's my triangle. So that's what I'm talking about when I mean compose and decompose shapes to put them together. As you work through your iReady and your workbooks, I hope this makes a ton more sense to you. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to your teachers. We are waiting and ready to help you in any way possible. And as always, don't forget, wash your hands.